Today, Seth Lawrence, my guest in studio, State Senator Chapin, or not in studio, on the phone, State Senator Chapin Rose. Rose, how you doing, man? You doing all right?
You're close enough. I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
I'm all right. It's
Maybe
I
a
don't
couple
even
more cups of coffee, eh?
something. It's been a morning to this point, so this is no surprise. I can't even get where you're at, right? But at any rate, appreciate you coming on here, Chapin, and talking with us, and want to get your reaction. Governor Pritzker and I believe Mayor Lightfoot are overseas promoting Illinois' energy legislation. I know you've been an outspoken critic of that legislation as it's been worked on the last few years here with the governor since he took office in 2019, I do believe. But at any rate, Chapin, just your thoughts on the governor making his way to the energy conference in, I believe, Scotland. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, well, first off, it's not just him. It's the governor, the Senate president, the Speaker of the House, all the Democrat muckety mucks that run Illinois, hightailed it off to Scotland, and somebody got a picture of them all sitting around drinking a pint in a pub, which is, good for them, except for the fact that, all hell's breaking loose back here. I mean, I don't necessarily lay all of the inflation problems at the governor's doorstep, certainly not, but, people can't get Thanksgiving grocery supplies in at a reasonable price. And these guys are off highfalutin in Scotland. I just think it was utterly tone deaf to where we're at with, businesses closing, labor shortage, supply shortage. We've got people who, I mean, where are workers? I mean, they're just disappeared. You know what I mean? And you got the COVID thing still ongoing. You got the problems in our schools. You've got crime rampant, people getting shot on the streets, and these guys are out drinking a beer in Scotland. Well, I guess, good for them. But, it's just, to me, it was sort of utterly tone deaf. And I the only thing that was even more tone deaf than that was when Pete Buttigieg flew in on his, U.S. Secretary of Transportation plane to attend the conference when he'd been out for, weeks on maternity leave in the middle of a supply chain crisis. We don't have truck drivers and the ports don't work. What kind of person signs up for a cabinet level position for the United States of America and then takes 6 weeks off in the middle of a supply chain crisis when you're the U.S. Secretary of Transportation? Mm-hmm. But these little things don't seem to matter to Democrats.
Sure. Well, Chapin, as you talk about them being overseas, I saw that the governor signed some legislation over there that basically it creates incentives for these energy efficient companies to come to Illinois with tax incentives and things of that nature. And the governor also plans for, or wants to plan for, I believe, 1 million electric vehicles on the road by 2030 is ringing a bell. Some of these details may not be quite accurate, but just thoughts on those couple of things there.
Yeah, look, let me just define. There's a couple different bills out there that have happened in the last 6 weeks, and people have got a little bit of I think they've been whipsawed a little bit on the pace of all the different things going on in Springfield. But one of the bills I was highly critical of, as you alluded to. The other one I think really does make some degree of sense over the long haul. So the first was the so-called energy bill that basically raised everybody's prices, then forcibly closed the remaining coal plants, or will close the remaining coal plants in Illinois, which just means that we're going to have to now spend even more money to import power from out of state back into downstate, basically downstate Illinois, because there are no coal plants in the Chicagoland area. And that out of state power that's going to come back into Illinois is going to be coal. That's how stupid this was. We're going to put our people out of work, put other states' people to work, and then all of us as ratepayers get to pay more for it. Okay, that's ridiculous. So that bill I voted against. However, in the most recent veto session a couple weeks ago, there was another bill that I think was closer to the mark, and I won't, it had some issues as well, but I don't think it's something that I can, necessarily take a lot of shots at, because honestly, in the long haul, things like the electric vehicle, is part, not all, it is part of a global solution to lower prices for gas, for example, right? I mean, lowering the demand for petroleum-based products is going to have a direct impact on the price of gasoline. And so there's no doubt that plants like Rivian up in Bloomington that are putting a lot of people to work and are going to power, local economy in Central Illinois, do have some significant merits to them. Mm-hmm. So, I guess my objection to the governor going over to Scotland is, Governor, you're not the president of the United States. Okay. You're the governor of Illinois. Control what you can control. Stay here. Let's work through the significant problems that this state has. Let's not spend, a week or whatever it is running around in Scotland. Mm-hmm. And, that's the nation's elite, the international elite go there, the presidents and the premiers and, all those people go there to deal with the International Climate Conference. Well, you're the governor of Illinois, not the president of the United States. Stop thinking about what you want to be and start focusing on what you are. Can control what is in front of you today and stop worrying about tomorrow.
I would ask, is that how auspicious this governor thinks of himself? Is he think he's that important that he should be there?
Well, Governor Pritzker desperately wants to be president of the United States. And what you're seeing is that the decisions that he is making as governor of Illinois are designed not to help the daily lives of Illinoisans, but to help him potentially, run for president at some point in time. This was the same, sort of conceit that Rod Blagojevich had. And, Rod Blagojevich damn near destroyed the entire state of Illinois. And it took literally a decade to start to dig out from his chaos. And it was all because he was focused on running for president, I sound like Obi-Wan, was that Star Wars movie, always looking in the future, not where he is. You know what I mean? Control what's around you. I mean, I don't pretend to run around and want to make decisions for, as United States Congressman. I'm not in the United States Congress. I'm in the state legislature, right? Let's deal with Illinois' issues because that's what's in front of us. And, the conceit that comes with wanting to it's really the folly that comes with trying to run for president while you're a governor just mucks up everybody's works. And that, when it comes to making the trains run on time in the state of Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. So State Senator Chapin Rose, our guest on the phone here for this morning as we talk with him today. Anything else on the governor being overseas at this time? I mean, I know that kind of transitions us into the discussion about violence continuing to run rampant, not just in Chicago. This is now trickling into downstate communities as well. You're seeing violence all over the place. Specifically, I know Champaign has been hit rather hard in the last several months. I know, Decatur, Springfield, Bloomington, you've got pockets of crime that take place in those communities as well. I saw there was a shooting in East St. Louis just last night, I believe. So this is not something that is now exclusive to Chicago, really is trickling into the downstate communities.
No, it's just terrible. And truthfully, until Springfield gets serious about putting the actual violent criminals behind bars instead of letting them out, we're going to see more and more of this, unfortunately. And as you know, and I think we'll hit a break here in a second, but I'd like to talk about this in some detail because we filed a package, myself and the Senate Republicans filed a fairly extensive package called the Fund the Police Act, which was designed to not only help our local communities get more police on the streets, train them better, equip them better, but also help fund things like some of these, street crimes task forces, which largely had to be paid out of overtime because you can't, afford to take an officer off the street during the regular patrol. So you got to pay them overtime to be part of those street crimes task forces. Well, that's where you're going to get the violent thugs. But I will also tell you that Governor Pritzker has had an amazing, just some amazing appointments to the Prisoner Review Board. Well, what's the Prisoner Review Board? Well, those are the people that grant or deny pardon to people seeking to get out. Mm-hmm. And he, for example, has appointed former murderer to the board. Okay. Well, that guy's just voting to let everybody out. All right. It is absolutely insane. Let me give you an example. Kerry Pettigrew. Okay. I don't know when you want to take the break.
We got a few minutes. We can keep going.
Okay. So Kerry Pettigrew was had 5 aggravated batteries to a police officer, threatening a public official who I'm assuming is probably the warden at the prison he was in. Then he had contraband inside the prison. Okay. So here's a guy who is in prison. While he's in prison, he brings contraband weapons into the prison. Okay. He's caught with a weapon in the prison. It appears to me from his rap sheet that he probably, at least one of the aggravated batteries was while he was in prison. Okay. And yet, despite having been sentenced to, almost a 3-decade sentence, he gets paroled out in 18 years. Okay. To Champaign. Within 2 months of his parole, of what he should still be sitting there. Okay. Within 2 months of his parole, he is alleged to have knocked off the Blue Star Convenience Mart on Bradley Avenue, followed by 10 minutes later knocking off a Circle K, allegedly, and shooting the clerk. All right? This guy shouldn't have even been walking the streets. Period. That is who Governor Pritzker is letting out of prison early. Okay? There's all this nonsense about a low-level nonviolent offender. These are not good people. And they're letting them out early. So, Seth, why don't we take the break and then we can come back and talk about the package of bills we filed.
Sounds good. I love it when you take over the show, Chapin. State Senator Chapin Rose, my guest on the phone. More with him on the way on the WHOW Morning Show.
Let's check the opening numbers now. The Chicago Board of Trade on this Thursday. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network. Corn higher, beans mostly higher, and wheat starting the day higher. December corn 5.78 up 3. March corn up 2.5, 5.84. December 22 corn 5.53 unchanged. January beans 12.82 3/4 up 5 3/4. March beans starting 12.93 1/4 up a nickel, and November 22 beans 12.59 1/2 down 3 1/4. December wheat opening 8.36 1/4 up 14. March wheat up 14 1/2, 8.47 1/2, and July wheat 8.34 up 11 1/4. December bean meal starting today 376.50, that's up 180, and December bean oil opening at 59.71. That's up 48 cents. A look at the opening numbers at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Thursday. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network.
At Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Baum Motor Company in Farmer City, our job is to help you and solve your transportation needs. This is Scott Baum. Both in Clinton or Farmer City, we'll listen and find options for a different vehicle, or we'll give you repair options to keep that car, truck, or SUV safe and trouble-free so you can continue with your busy schedule. If it has to do with transportation, we're here to help. Visit our full-service team today in Clinton or Farmer City. Baum Chevrolet Buick, right from the start.
Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson tells us live cashiers are important. Here's Dave with more.
The cashier actually doing the cashiering is pretty darn important, and the customers respond to that. We've gotten a tremendous response to our campaign reminding people that we have live cashiers.
You get live cashiers every time you save up to 40% off on your grocery bill at your Clinton Save-A-Lot. And as Dave always says,
and we hope to see you soon.
You're listening to The Morning Show on the Big 1520 across Central Illinois. WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence, and on the phone with me is State Senator Chapin Rose. And Chapin, we left off that last segment. You were going to introduce us to the package of crime bills, and pro-police bills that you and other Republicans put forward not that long ago. Just again, give us kind of a 10,000-foot overview of what's in some of those things.
Appropriate $100 million of state taxpayer funds back to local communities to help hire new police, train, equip police, as we discussed, help pay for overtime costs for violent crimes and street crimes task forces. The other thing it would do is it help all of our county sheriffs have noted the fact that they've got, significant mental health issues in their local county jails, which are falling back on property taxpayers. We would allow some of those funds to be used to help offset those costs and try to help with some of the mental health issues that are going on. But also, quite frankly, we're done dealing with violent criminals. 10 in life. Okay. First offense, 10 years. Violent, you're going to shoot somebody, 10 years. Second offense, life. Okay. I mean, a minimum of 10. All right. Obviously, if it's, a heinous crime or everything else, it could go much longer than 10 on the first offense. Carjackings, 10 in life. Okay. Violent criminals do not need to be on our streets. So first offense, crimes of violence, 10 years minimum. Second offense, life. We're done. Okay. We are just done. Now I can admit, and I do admit fully, that this is going to take the pastors and the police. The state is not going to solve this. The police are not going to solve this. We're going to need intensive community-based programming. I was talking to one of the pastors in Champaign the other day. He's got a youth midnight basketball league to keep kids off the streets, which is pretty cool. But what's even cooler is he's transformed it into robotics classes in the schools, where these kids are coming in and learning a significant skill set, and they get excited, and they're they're basically being trained for high paying jobs of the future, and they don't even know it because they're having so much fun.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's really neat.
But it's all aimed at kids that are heading the wrong direction. And so I fully admit that those things are necessary, needed, and need to be supported. But those are 10-year programs. You know what I mean? Before you see any results. Kerry Pettigrew, the guy that allegedly shot the clerk at the Circle K, 2 months after getting that paroled. Well, Kerry Pettigrew had no business walking our streets. Violent criminals need to be gone today. So our program that we introduced is, sort of two-pronged. There's the immediate, let's get these violent thugs off our streets. And there's the long-term, which is investing in our communities so that we prevent, and try to move these people into, start with the kids. I mean, we can't give up on our kids. And there's a point where a kid crosses that line into adult and, it's time to be done. But, when you're talking about 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, you got to get in there and get them. You know what I mean? We as a society have every duty and ethical obligation in the world to try to lay a good foundation for kids to be successful in life. So we're trying to be respectful of the fact, and this is my main problem with the Democrats. They only want to do the community stuff. They don't recognize that evil is evil and violence is violence. There are people that need to be removed, period. And they just walk around with their head in the sand like that doesn't exist. Like somehow you can pretend that let a guy who's a 5-time aggravated battery to police officer who's convicted in prison of having contraband weapons, we can somehow let him out early and expect things to go well.
Yeah, it's like an admission you can fix all the evil in the world. You know what I mean?
Right. Go ask the Circle K clerk how that turned out, allegedly.
Chapin, as we talk here this morning, I know we got a couple other things we want to dive into. What other pieces of legislation are you working on?
Well, that's a great question. The short answer, I don't quite know yet. This is the type of year when we get ready for the spring session, which will start very intensively in January. So we're actually putting those together now. Give me a couple weeks, here to go through all the requests that come in from constituents over the summer and fall, and then we'll be launching those, before January, or the first week of January at the latest. Gotcha. So, but that's what we do at this time of year is we kind of get set for the spring. I will tell you that sessions, going to be short. They're going to end in the middle of April, supposedly, as opposed to the end of May. I think the Democrats are so afraid that they've angered the people of Illinois with all their nonsense that they're going to leave early to go home and campaign and try to explain themselves. But for whatever reason, that's their current plan. I will tell you, though, happily, in a week and a half, I'll be up in Chicago with the State Farm Bureau annual meeting, which is just a great time to meet constituents from all 10 of the counties I represent. Farm Bureau leaders are, they're local. They come right from the county organizations, right from the township, county townships on the local county Farm Bureau boards. So when I go up to the annual Farm Bureau meeting, it's a great chance for me not just to see, 60 or 70 constituents from 10, from all 10 counties, but it's a chance to meet the leaders of those local counties and hear what's on their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you ask me what kind of legislation will I be working on in the spring, they say, I don't know yet. I'm not trying to be funny or coy, just showing up at that meeting and seeing what's on the Farm Bureau's mind. When you represent 10 counties of the greatest farm ground in the world, showing up and listening to those leaders, that's going to inform a lot of the legislation I shape in the spring. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's been a couple of years since you've been able to be up there. So,
right.
That's
canceled it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty big opportunity of outreach for sure. So I didn't mean to cut you off there, Chapin. Anything else on the Farm Bureau meeting you're looking forward to?
No, I mean, it's a great, and I don't know how many people know about it, but the Farm Bureau is probably the most egalitarian, democratic, small D organization in America. They truly, everything they do comes from the membership themselves. Their meetings are governed respectfully under Robert's Rules of Order. It's an interesting experience when you watch how they run a meeting versus how the Democrats in Springfield run Springfield. If we'd run it a lot more like the Farm Bureau runs its annual meeting, Illinois wouldn't be nearly as screwed up as it is, that's for sure.
Chapin, we appreciate your time as always. I know you've had some listening sessions here of late. Just real quickly, how have those gone?
Largely very, very well. And, again, I'll tell you that's part of developing my spring strategy, our bills that I'm going to file. We're still reviewing. We haven't got all the data back yet from some of that we've done because people can fill out questionnaires. In fact, I'd invite anybody to go on my website, senchapinrose.org.
Sure. And do that. Chapin, I don't mean to cut you off, my friend. I got to let you go. Yep, I got to let you go. State Senator Chapin Rose on the phone with us. Network News is now.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM,